Welcome to episode 5 of Making Zak the Ripper. We had a bit of a pause last week due to some unforeseen technical issues, but we're now back with our podcast for this week. So I'll just give a quick update where we are on the production. So we are about 7 weeks out now from actually starting the shoot on the 7th of September. Which feels like time is just flying away and still a million things to do, but getting closer and closer, and things are being ticked off as we go down that road. So last week we've been working on more storyboarding, so we're almost at the end of the storyboarding process. We had a great rehearsal in London with some of our key principal cast members, which was a lot of fun. Really good seeing them bringing the characters to life, and working with them and seeing what they bring to the party. So that was really, really good fun. What else have we been up to? I'm just trying to remember now. So many things.
Largely storyboarding, isn't it? The storyboarding process has been long, but really, really crucial and quite fun. I think it's been kind of building the movie, isn't it? Which has been kind of exciting just to see it. You know, that combined with our rehearsal we did up in town was. You kind of really feel it coming together, and you can sort of see the movie. I can feel it in my head now. I can sort of see it, what's going to happen. So, now it's just a matter of getting on set and getting it out of my head and into the camera.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a mix of sort of creative and sort of the more mundane parts of filmmaking and getting the finance all sorted. And I've been working with the accountant to get various things done. The BFI producers credit application being made. I might cut that a bit because I don't know. We're not talking to Paul about that, are we? So we'll see.
No, that's true.
But a mixture of creative and sort of the more mundane things about filmmaking, or the finance stuff, and and also looking at locations, which brings us on to today's theme, film locations. So just to give a quick snapshot about our production. So we've got 7 locations that we needed to scout, plus some external locations that we're still trying to work out exactly where we want to shoot those. So just a few additional shots that are out there. But typically, our film had 7 locations, and the world of the film was set within Brighton and Hove. So we needed to tell that story within that location. But the actual locations we've settled upon typically are actually outside of Brighton mostly. We're in Worthing, we're in Newark, we're in New Haven, we're in Cowfold, if I remember rightly. Is it Cowfold? It is one of the last one, isn't it?
Crowhurst.
Crowhurst, that's it. I knew it'd be able to see. Yeah, close. And I just wanted to just kind of talk through that process about location scouting. And so we don't have a location scout. We are the location scout department. So we took off our 10 other hats and put on our location scouting hat for this purpose. And it's taken us a bit of time to find the right different locations. We worked with Sussex Film Office as well, and they were brilliant. I loved the team down there, and they gave us some really helpful suggestions, and we saw different locations, and we were looking at a lot of different locations. But I think before we go into the kind of sort of each individual ones that we've been looking at and what we settled on, let's talk about locations and the importance of getting the right location and the process of finding locations. So over to you. Tell me what you're thinking about locations and what we've found so far.
Yeah, it's that thing, isn't it? When having written it, often a director will get handed a script. In this case, in this situation, I've written it and going to direct it. So those locations were really in my head right from the off, and you kind of, which is a good thing and a bad thing in a way, because it kind of, you have to open yourself up when you're searching for locations to change what was always in your head, but get as close as possible, I suppose. So, I mean, the best. We've got 2 main locations, which are 2 houses, which is Zak's house and Zoe, who is Zak's best friend's house. And they were the 2 that were always going to prove the hardest, I think, to find. And we were searching. It's worked out incredibly well for me. We were searching, weren't we, from sort of south of London down, weren't we, just to find these perfect houses. We were looking in Brighton. We were north of Brighton. We were looking around the place, and a contact of mine, Mark Beaumont, a supporter of what we do, he said, "Oh, you should chat to Lisa." And Lisa's, I've not met Lisa. She lives in New Haven, which is about, 5 minutes from my front door. And we popped round to her house, and she had the most amazing location, didn't she? So we'll obviously get onto that when we're going through them individually. But with regards to the importance of location, look, it's enormously important. It's kind of, I think when you see a film that hasn't done a lot of work on it, it can be quite bland. And if everything is a bit bland, then it makes it much harder to make an interesting piece. Where I think if your locations are scouted properly and chosen and then set properly, once you've got the locations, gives you a really good chance, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, let's talk about Lisa's location first of all then, because we're looking at each location with a number of different things in our minds. Firstly, visually, does it look like the place our character would live in as it is? Bearing in mind, we've then got production design to come in and customize it, bespoke it to our character. But because we don't have vast budgets to play with, we're looking for a place that's perhaps, quite a long way down the road towards looking like our character's place might look like already. So we looked at quite a few places prior to that for Lisa's house that were either just looked like she had way too much money than our character would have. And you can adjust that. You can write the script and you can create the world how you want. But we had a sort of sense of what we wanted, didn't we? And then when we found Lisa's house, you saw it first and then we both went to see it. And it was like, yeah, this is perfect. The colours kind of match
yeah. It's almost like it was, when you go and search for a location, you take 65, 70% right, and then you do the rest of the work with your set design and art department. With Lisa's house, I walked in there and thought, oh my God, we're like 95% there. This is where she lives, which I'm sure when you see the film, you'll see where Zoe lives. We won't have done an enormous amount of art design. That is largely what the house looks like, which is an absolute dream because, if you'd taken an empty house, for instance, or a built set, and created what Lisa's house looks like, it would have cost tens of thousands. So the fact that we've waltzed in there, and so basically the moment I went in there, I thought, right, we've got to get this deal done because this is so perfect. Yeah, Matt came over to look at it, and we kind of just thought, okay, right, now get this deal done with Lisa. Lisa's incredibly lovely, and that's been really nice as well. And then that leads on. So then I put like an advert out. We put a little shout out about Zak's house. We just needed like a kitchen for his house and a bedroom potentially, but largely just a good sized kitchen. And Lisa of the lovely house that I just spoke of contacted me and said, "Oh, have you tried Hannah, my friend's house?" So we went 3 minutes down the road to Hannah's house, and and we found this amazing kitchen. It's quite new, isn't it? It's quite a sort of a modern kitchen, and the setup in Zak's life is that he's kind of a single bloke living on his own in a bit of a mess. So there'll be some art design for Alouette, and I'll be jumping in on that as well a little bit to do. But so like I say, incredibly lucky for me, being that I am about 5 minutes from both locations. It seems like I've done that on purpose as a selfish git, but that wasn't the case, I promise.
Yeah, we're not lazy. We have done a lot of looking at different locations. It's like sometimes the best things are right under your nose, aren't they? So it's very much like that. I think one of the other a big consideration from my department of camera and lighting when we're looking at these locations is from a sort of a technical logistics standpoint as well, because as wonderful as those locations were visually, it's like, okay, can this actually work though? If we're taking this location over, we've got 17, 20 people arriving, cast and crew. Can we accommodate them all? Is there space for them to also have hair and makeup? Is there space for various other, essentially elements of the production to come in? But specifically, I'm looking at, okay, where can we light from? Can we have lights outside? Can we get that in? What about the power? How many power circuits are on there? How are we going to use the practical lights? How's access to get equipment in and out of there as well? So it suddenly goes from, okay, does this look right? Yes. But then can it logistically work for a crew to come in and light it and shoot it? And how does that work? And what are the windows like and the sound? And you've got all these other variables that go into looking at locations. And, thankfully, I think, at our budget level, there's always going to be compromises. You never, ideally, as you said, we'd probably go and take this into a studio setting and we'd build these houses and we'd have full control over the environment from start to finish. And that would be fantastic. That would also come with a different set of challenges, but it would remove a lot of the challenges that you face shooting in a live environment. But I think broadly what we've got is spaces where we can be flexible for Zak and Zoe's properties. And one of the things we are doing, which is often happens in film, is that we're shooting Zak's bedroom, but it's actually the bedroom in Zoe's house, which is upstairs, but that's doubling for Zak. So a little bit of film jiggery pokery, for want of a better expression, there. And then one of the other key locations we've got, without giving anything away around the plot, but we've got an interview sequence in the film, and we needed essentially like a TV studio like location, and we looked at lots of different ones in Brighton that were good and interesting, but not quite right. And then I was searching on Google and I came across York Road Studios. So shout out to Alan at York Road Studios, and had a look at his website and then arranged conversation. And we went down and saw Alan at York Road Studios. First of all, just a lovely guy, really super friendly, really helpful. Just a lovely vibe about him. So, a lot of what we do is about kind of making sure we've got great collaborators and we all get on well with each other as much as you possibly can. And Alan just exuded that. So I personally just was like, yeah, I mean, this guy's great, very helpful, like over and above, which is really, really nice. And his location, York Road Studios, was really, really good. So, talk to me about your thoughts around York Road Studios' suitability for that scene without giving any plot spoilers away.
Yeah. No, it's lovely. It's kind of, again, we thought, because we wanted kind of like I say, a sort of a TV interview environment. And I was kind of toying with the idea of shooting it in a non-studio, in like a sort of warehouse environment. We could kind of make it look like a sort of an upmarket sort of Netflixy interview. And again, you think those will be easier locations to find. They're not. And so, we kind of struggled a little bit on that. And then obviously you found this studio with the images online looked great, and we went to visit and it is just perfect. So again, when that TV interview crops up in about the middle of the film, that is where, we shot it. And yeah, lovely, just like I say, a lovely guy, and the setting there and all the sort of set dressing he's got there with coffee tables and sofas and stuff, it's all there. And which means we can, I think we're going there with a day to go on the shoot. So I'll either be incredibly happy and looking forward to the end of it, or mega stressed. So we'll see. I'm hoping the former. I'm hoping it'll be a lovely day as we kind of wind down. So, but I can't wait. That's one of those days that I'm really looking forward to, because it all feels kind of, again, with filmmaking, it gets stressful, obviously, and it can get away from you, and days can become quite difficult. Whereas when you're in that environment and it's lit and the actors are in place and that's kind of it, then it gives you a real opportunity for the actors to have some fun with it. And that's, that I think is key. Again, something we're trying to do generally, aren't we? We're trying to make this an actor's piece, basically. We're doing as much prep as we can with regards to locations and lighting and blocking and storyboarding now to make the actors comfortable. So let's hope we succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just on the York Road Studios as well, it's perfect in terms of sound and what we can do with the lighting there. So it's it's just kind of all there for us to set it up, as you said, and put the actors into the scene and go, right, let's play. Let's see what we come up with.
Exactly.
Which is great fun. And then one of the other locations we've worked on finding is a pub in Newark. So we're up to Newark for a few days. So we've got it's shut on a couple of Mondays. So we've managed to secure usage of the pub in the Royal Oak in Newark to shoot the film on a couple of Mondays, which is great. Perfect location for what we want to do. Again, it's one of those ones. It's a pub supposed to be in Brighton, but how we shoot it, how we kind of tell that story, it's obviously not in Brighton, but it's not far out from there. So I think that's going to be another good location. How did that location come about?
Well, that's a nice one. That's a nice free one, because that's a relative of mine runs it. So that is kind of we worked out. That was very nice. Exactly. Yeah, always good. So and they've been super helpful. And so it's a lovely little country pub. And like you say, we've just got the downside, I suppose, is that maybe given an ideal scenario, you might have wanted like a city pub environment that's very much obviously Brighton, but Brighton's got a plethora of different looking pubs, that's for sure. So we can definitely make it look like it's in town. And so that is a lovely location, really quaint pub and sort of interesting to look at. So we've got a couple of days there, and looking forward to that. Again, some lovely stuff happening in those scenes. So it's one of the scenes will be, whoever has seen the teaser on our website, it's that scene that we're shooting in the pub, and then another big one towards the end of the film as well. So again, comes with its own challenges, but I think looking for extras now. That's the next thing we'll be looking for on our long list of to-dos.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we will be indeed. The other couple of locations, just to kind of sort of start to wrap today's little episode up, we've got the finale of the movie in a great farmhouse out in I was going to say Cowfold again, but it's not Cowfold, is it? It's Crowhurst.
Wildwood Studios is
Wildwood Studios.
Paul runs it. Lovely Paul, and he's really been incredibly helpful. And it's a lovely bit of land, lots of different spots we can use, and little kind of sort of nooks of forest and stuff that we needed, and the little sorts of farm buildings that we needed. Everything's there. So and he they rent that out as a film studio. So that is horrible. It's a great, lovely location, and lovely to deal with, haven't they? Been good. Yeah,
we'll put the links to Wildwood Studios in the show notes for this episode. It's a great location, and I think the other things just kind of chat about was the sort of practical logistics of the locations, aside from what I've already mentioned, but things like making sure we've got the right insurances in place, but also managing expectations of the people whose houses we're taking over, because we will literally be taking their houses over. So I think when we had those initial conversations with locations and the people who own those properties, we were at pains to really say, well, look, we're going to need essentially exclusive use of your property from this hour to this hour, and we're going to need to leave kit there, and then this is exactly what's going to happen, and we're not going to be able to have people just wandering around upstairs. It's like we take the whole property, and understand that people know that that's the level of handing that property over essentially to us, and that we've got all the insurances in place. If anything is broken, we've got that covered. We've got everything covered from a legal standpoint as well. So there's quite a lot to get organised, which is where somewhere like Sussex Film Office is great, because they can coordinate that all for you. And we've used them for previous films, and that's been brilliant. So just on this one, we've gone down this route. But
it's one of those things that having a film crew, if you've not done it before, having a film crew in your house, it's always worse than you think it's going to be, because it's really difficult. It's it's a lot. Obviously, it's quite an intense environment, and as you say, you need complete silence a lot. And so I think the best way, and the girls, Hannah and Lisa, who've got the main two locations, have kind of agreed that the best way to do it is for them not to be there really. And obviously, we've done deals with them for their properties. Yeah, I think I know, again, it's just as a filmmaker, you leave it as you find it and do as best as you can to kind of respect it and respect their stuff. And, hopefully it works for everyone. That's kind of the key, I think.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone, they get their property featured in a film. It's a good experience. We're respectful. As you said, we return it as we found it, and shake hands, and everyone's happy, and we'll come out of it better for the experience. Okay, cool. Well, that's a sort of brief overview on our location journey so far. We've still got one location for the opening of the film, would you believe, to find, and some external shots as well that we need to get. So that's still there, and with 7 weeks to go, we've still got stuff to cover off. So yeah, we'll share about more of that. But that brings us to pretty much the end for today's episode. We'll be back next week, where we'll be looking a bit more into the crew elements of Zak the Ripper. So that'll be our next episode. But in the meantime, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, help us spread the word of this epic film production to as many people as possible. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter on zaktherippermovie.com. Other than that, that's it. Cheers, Warren.
Cheers, guys.